But the main thing is, like with it, is the speed. So I don't know. Sometimes I have to look at that deal to see where I'm supposed to be. But the deal is, like, as far as, again, colder water, slower, warmer water. And then as the water warms up, I start changing my trailer. And again, much like a flipping jig, I just think a Rage Craw it's hard to beat it if you don't know what to use on a swim jig or a flipping jig. It will get bites wherever you throw it at. And so to me, it's just the best swim jig trailer. And I do it the same way, and I use the crawfish and not the chunk. The chunk is short and you have to hang it. I like the crawfish because I can thread it and I can control the length of it. And typically all you want on a swim jig, I like a little bit of skirt material covering the hook, but on that Rage Craw, what you don't want is any skirt material touching the legs. Because if any bit of that skirt touches one of those legs, it won't kick and the other one will. So when I cut it off, when I typically bite off 2 segments, that's typically on a swim jig and a flipping jig, but I want both of those legs to hang clean out the side so you get the action that you need. But like, I would say, like, typically for me, the progression throughout the spring, and this is fishing shallow with a swim jig, is you go from this, where I hold the rod down and I cast, and I try to hit everything I can under the water, whether it's pad stems, could be a hydrilla bed, grass, a rock, crawl it along, because that seems to be when you get the bites, because those fish are laying on cover. And so when I'm ticking that stuff, and they just slack the line most of the time, you just feel a little ding, and the line goes slack, and then you can get them because they get it. As the season progresses, and I start fishing it up, and we go to some places where I can just cast it and wind it and get them to bite it. And I know a lot of you have watched video, you've seen guys, and really this kind of started in Alabama. You see those guys throw it and shake it, like when you're coming through the cover, and I do that a lot too, especially around heavy cover. The reason they're doing that is not necessarily to put action in the bait, but when you do that, the bait sets in one place. So if I throw that swim jig out there through that grass and I just reel it, it's coming back. And a lot of times you catch them like that, but when it's in a deal where I feel like I need to irritate them into biting, then that's when you hold your rod up and you just crawl it along and shake it. And what you're doing is that bait's getting hung in one place. And a lot of times that's the deal. I'll hang it on a pad stem, and then you'll pull it to the next one and hang it and shake it. And that irritates those fish into coming up and getting it, and then you'll see all those strikes. But basically what it's doing, it is slowing down your rate of speed, keeping that bait in one place and getting a chance to suck those fish out of that heavy cover. And I find as the spring progresses, again, much like the bedding fish, in that we started off flipping baits with no action, and then as the spawn got longer, we needed more action to make those fish bite. And it's once they get on the bed, like this is the other thing about it. Like once they start to get out there and guard an area, so typically what bedding fish do is when they move out there and right before they spawn, they've not locked down a spot. Like this, there's an X on this deal, and once they go to bedding, they guard that little X. Right before that happens, they guard an area. And what they do is they're going out there and they're running everything out of that area and they're staking claim. And then there's going to be a certain sweet spot in there is where they spawn. When they do that, there is no better bait than a swim jig. Because then I can cover water, they're covering a big area, and they're super aggressive. And I know, and most of you, if you've ever fished in the spring, it can be one of those late afternoons and it's this time of the day or so and slick, and you'll look down a stretch and all of a sudden you see a wake and then it goes away. That's when that's happening. Like a lot of times, I'll catch them a lot of times before I know it's happening, before you actually see it, but you do see it. And when I see one wake the first time, there's no bait that beats that. Because the deal is you can cover so much water and fish it so fast. And that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that bluegill that's swimming through their area. Now, as it progresses and they get on the beds, then they get moody. And then and a lot of times I just use it as a bait then to find them. They'll show themselves and not get it. And when they go through that period, I have it down, then I can go back and start taking it apart with that flipping stick and pitching around and throwing a wacky worm and stuff like that. But they go through all those phases. It's just like the flipping, like they're in that feeding mode, and then they go to the defensive mode and they're guarding the area, and then they get on the bed. As soon as they come off of the bed, they get back to that